Welcome to the Nation ASEAN Plus on Bernama with me, Danial Rahman. As Malaysia assumes the chairmanship of the ASEAN Interparliamentary Assembly, or IPA, we'll be discussing the pivotal role of Parliament in enhancing democracy and bilateral cooperation throughout the region. Our conversation today will also cover issues such as food security, energy transition, empowerment, innovation, as well as education of young people who are the future of ASEAN. For this, we are truly honoured to have with us Tan Sri Johari ABDUL, the Honourable Speaker of Malaysia's Parliament. Tan Sri, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Tan Sri, allow me to get right into it. Now, you took the oath as Speaker of the Dewan Rakyat on the 19th December 2022, and in that time you've played a very unique role in refereeing, this unity government that we see, and along the way you've also mooted various reforms. The Parliament Services Act, the empowerment of the Special Select Committee. Now, I'm made to understand it's been approximately 484 days, but who's counting days, right?
Yeah.
Could you briefly share with us how this journey has been?
Well, Daniel, thank you very much for having me here today. And of course, if you were to look at the term of reference or the kind of job I'm supposed to do in Parliament, it's very clearly stated. And I'm there to manage the session. But we have only plus minus about 70 days in a year, So I was thinking to myself, what else to be done? What else to be done? And so you lay all the options that I have. Certainly, Reformasi Parliament is one of them. But at the same time, I have some experience as number one, as a former PTD officer. I was a PTD officer, and I was also a banker. Then I was later on to become a member of Parliament for 3 terms, and I was an ABDUL, and I was Ketua Pembangkang in ABDUL Kedah. So you combine that, and also I'm the Pengarah Biro Tata Negara. That's right. So you combine those experiences, I think. Why not I give back to the society? So beside doing what I'm supposed to do in Parliament in terms of reforms, but I'm thinking greatly now, alhamdulillah, to advise certain agencies, how do you bring back this nation to a certain level of expectation? And I guess that's what's happening at the moment, Thank God that the government have decided to bring back PLKN, they call it PKL 3.0,
right?
And also program Tata Negara, Ketatanegaraan. And so these are the areas that I'm directly involved of advising on advisory capacity at the moment. Of course, as I said, the reforms in Parliament is continuous, and I guess that's what I'm doing at the moment. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Tan Sri. And of course, the experience. Now we also see that the ASEAN chairmanship for the IPA, or the ASEAN Interparliamentary Assembly. And I'm made to understand that recently you led the Malaysian delegation to the 44th IPA General Assembly, where you highlighted the role of Parliament, not just at the local level, but also in looking at issues such as tackling water, energy, and food security in ASEAN. Tan Sri, if you could elaborate further, what is the current state of affairs in ASEAN when it comes to these issues, and why has it become a focus for you and Parliament in that regard?
Well, IPA basically involve all ASEAN parliamentarians, and of course headed by the Speaker. At summit level, of course, by the Prime Minister, and at the Parliament levels are headed by the speakers of every ASEAN parliaments. And it is a yearly affair that all the leaders meet together. And of course, there are certain things that we discuss. There are certain things that we postpone. There are certain that we agree and we don't agree, as any other organization for that matter. At the moment in Indonesia, the one that we just had, because there are so many things that we talk about. Certainly, there are a few things that I guess will be continued by us when we are chairman. We will assume the chairmanship by this year, Of course, we officially be chairman by 2025, but we assume that job, I guess, by October, and Laos is going to be the chairman this year. And I guess 3 areas that will be very important to us, and we pushed high into the agenda. Number one, of course, the issue of climate change, and that will be very high. So we are looking at how do ASEAN look at climate issues, and what are the alternatives to the fossil energy. Can we agree upon that renewable energy, become high in the agenda? I think it is going to be high in the agenda. How do we capitalize whatever we have? Either hydro or solar or hydrogen, many other areas that we can work together.
Right.
And certainly that is high in the agenda. Number two is about food security. There are 680 million people in ASEAN countries, and certainly we are not short of money.
Right.
We are not short of people.
Right.
We are not short of land. So if we can combine these forces together, there are countries that have land, for example, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Indonesia.
That's a lot of mouths to feed.
Of course.
Yeah.
And probably Brunei and Indonesia and Singapore have the money, and probably Malaysia has some technology. So if you can combine this, then food security becomes also an issue, because the world has witnessed when Russia and Ukraine went to war, then the entire global is affected at whatever level we are affected. So I think with the current situation, as I said, we have the money, we have the probably land and the people. We should sit down and think, how do we galvanize our strength together so that this part of the world will not go hungry.
Right. And the third one, Tan Sri, you're saying?
Third one is about leadership.
Leadership, okay.
Third one is about leadership. As I said, 680 million people, certainly we have to have a platform to produce good leaders in the future. I mean, this is our zone is, we call it ZOFAN, Zone of Peace, Freedom and Neutrality. We have been there for almost 60 years.
Yes.
And it's a very peaceful zone, because of understanding, because of leadership, understand each other. We communicate, we understand each other. Culture is there. The ASEAN culture is there. I think we should maintain that, In order to do that, I guess we have to invest.
Okay.
We have to invest on the young people. We have to invest in education. We have to have the cultural exchange. We have to have the student exchange. So there are so many things that we can do together, so that the future leaders understand what kind of life that we want, what kind of stability that we want. So we just continue the whole thing or improve it. And I guess then we can talk to other superpower. We can talk to China. Indonesia is coming up. India is coming up. So, but ASEAN itself should be solidified. And I guess this is where I think we should play that role. But nevertheless, platform is very important. Platform is very, very important.
So platform is very important. I hear you, and we'll talk about youth and education in a moment, because I think that's a very important bit. But I'd like to take a step back and talk about food security for a moment. And I looked up a report by the UN Food and Agriculture Organization on their state of food security and nutrition in the world. And it says that based on the Food Insecurity Experience Scale, the FIES, it confirms that no progress had been made on food security at the global level. Right. So, Tan Sri, given that if things are not able to work out at that sort of global level, we talked about superpowers, but hey, they've got their faults as well. What are your thoughts then on what ASEAN can do, and what is the reaction of other parliamentarians to you in galvanizing this support to address food security?
Well, I guess this is where we should not work on silo. Then if only we work on silo, then probably we don't share. What's important now is for ASEAN to get together and let's share the experiences, And of course, climatically we are almost the same, because South Asian nations we experience that kind of weather, and there's everything almost the same. So this is where I guess exchange of ideas, exchange of technology, exchange of experiences, very important. And if you can put all these experiences and expertise together, I think we can do. It makes a lot of difference, especially on research. I mean, Thailand has been good at agriculture.
That's right.
and raising many other things. So probably Thailand would like to sit down with us, or Thailand would like to sit down with Singapore and Brunei, because Brunei and Singapore have the money.
Right. So you believe you're the man that can bring everyone together for IPA
so.
next month?
I believe so. So this is where I think, as a role as a chairman, and I push for that. We can be competitive, but nevertheless, we want to also see ASEAN, as I said, 680 million people. You don't have to do enough marketing, because this is 680 million people are enough to be your marketplace.
Marketplace, that's right.
But what we need to do is sit down together so that you can slash some of the costs that that can be saved if we will work together. And I guess it benefits everyone.
Patrick, I'd like to move on. Thanks for that. I'd like to move on to talk about youth and education, because when you talk about people sitting together and collaborating, ultimately it's a factor of humankind and human beings, right? Taking it from a different perspective, I've seen your social media recently. You're doing a lot of engagements with young people in universities, Parliament Belia, so on and so forth. And how do you see ASEAN, or how do you yourself see yourself engaging with young people in Malaysia, but also in ASEAN? And what are your goals from these engagement sessions?
I love this subject.
Great.
Being a former director of BTN, where youth leadership become, I would say, my interest.
You were a youth leader yourself?
Yes, I was a student leader. At the same time, when I was in service, I was entrusted to organize this kind of youth programs. You see, as I said, ASEAN has 680 million people, and I am sure, and we have good brains in South. But the issue now is that you have to have a platform to dig up those what we call it brain out, and if we want to be respected in this part of the region, so I think crisscross of information, experiences. So that's why I've been going to, any country that I visited, I normally would like to speak to the students of that particular country.
Right.
Motivate them to come up as a leader. Every student in university, to me, I do not see them as a student. They are potential leaders. Now the things that push them to a certain level, you have to have that platform. Meaning to say that if we have student exchange, recently I was in Indonesia, so there are a lot of interest, of student leaders down there to visit other countries.
Right.
So I think that promote that, student from Vietnam visiting Indonesia, Indonesia visiting probably Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia. So by doing that, so eventually, what we are doing is that we are putting people closer.
Right.
Then if we have this program continuously, it's not one-off, it should be a continuous program, then I believe we will be able to produce good leaders among ASEAN countries and put them in a platform so that we understand ourselves better. Then I think there's an element of trust should come into the picture.
Patrick, earlier you mentioned about climate change, food security. Do you think that this could be a focus for youth empowerment within ASEAN, or do you think it would be more important to address cultural challenges, because we see rising, for example, conservatism throughout the world, and even within ASEAN? I'll be frank, I may not know very well the Thai culture or even the Indonesian culture, despite sharing similarities when it comes to language. There has to be a priority, right? And in your mind, what you've seen from your travels, how would you rate these priorities?
Well, I guess everybody is aware of SDG. When you get to university, the only thing is that people do not know how do you go about doing that? How do I contribute to SDG?
Right.
I somehow people say I listen somewhere, but I don't know what's going on and how do I contribute. This is where I guess institution higher learning become very important in promoting these SDGs. That's why in Malaysia, the government have decided, even for that matter, that this PRKN 3.0 is to be reintroduced. Meaning to say all our school, the school leavers, especially SPM leavers, before the results out, they will be sent to camp now.
Right, okay.
They will be sent to camp now. Then in that particular camp, there were 45 days before the result is out. So all these issues, as you said just now, understanding culturally and what's going on around the world, should be informed to them. Then discussion must happen, because at school level, the discussion do not happen. SDG, people do not know what's going on, SDG. But at this particular 45 days in the camp, among the subject that we want them to know and discuss is about national issues, about climate change, about your responsibility as citizen. Not only that, your contribution towards this enhancing of the SDG. Now, this is what I said, it has to be structured. It's not going to be voluntary level.
If I may, Tan Sri, just to jump in on that point, because from what I hear also, the government is very well intended with PLKN 3.0 and wants to expose the students to SDGs and all these other factors. But leadership begets leadership. And what I mean by this is we've seen, nationally recently that some of the national leaders are, may I say, quote unquote, misbehaving in some ways, right? and not just in Malaysia, but we even see at the ASEAN level, various challenges from a democratic, legislative perspective. So what are your thoughts then on, even maturity at the higher level?
I've been, as I said, I've been MP for three terms, with 15 years. Then what I can safely say is that many people do not know how to differentiate when to be a leader and when to be a politician. Okay. As saying goes, politicians think about next election. Leaders think about next generation. So more often than not, you are somehow rather, sway to a level that you want to be a politician all the time. That's why when you even get into parliament, you forget that you are parliamentarian that time. You are expected to be a leader. But people misbehave. They want to be a politician all the time. But here it is. What I'm looking at is that we should be producing more leaders. When I say leaders, it doesn't mean that political leaders alone. You can be leader in education, leaders in innovation, corporate sector, whatever it is. But the point that the moment you step in as a student in a university, you should have in your mind that I want to be a leader.
And on that, Tan Sri, what do you have planned for Parliament Belia? You mentioned this a little bit earlier. So how does this link into the role of young people in the policy-making process and your role in nurturing this?
Well, the government have decided to hand over back this Parliament Belia to Parliament of Malaysia. I will do some adjustment to it. It used to be under Kementerian Belia dan Sukan. Now it's going to be a Parliament of Malaysia. I would like to make this Parliament Belia as their platform to be a real parliamentarian in future. Meaning to say that I will, now at the moment they have only 100 ahli Parliament Belia Malaysia, but I will increase that to 222. Meaning to say that every constituency will have one parliamentarian Belia. And I want society to be involved in choosing their own Parliament Belia. Meaning to say that society who are at the age of 16 to 35, this group of society, this group of the population will have interest of selecting their own rep to be sent. So every 2 years they have their own election. So meaning to say that I hope at least 50% of the parliamentarian Belia to become in future a real parliamentarian. So you have this kind of quote and unquote training. And not only training, understanding how to behave like a parliamentarian, how to think like a parliamentarian. The most important thing to be a leader. And that process has to happen immediately. And I hope by end of this year, we will start, a reform kind of Parliament Belia to happen, inshallah.
Sure. Now, I like that, Tan Sri, and I think the passion is great. Now, I'd like to come back to ASEAN and talk about ASEAN from a youth perspective. Recently, you've traveled to China and discussed various topics. Yesterday, you met the UNDP Assistant Administrator, I believe, Mr. Yu Hao Ling, And of course, he shared many world issues. And I understand in your position, you try to do your best to solve these issues in the capacity as speaker, but there's also certain limitations. And like you said, you nurture leaders for the next generation. Now, putting all of this together, where do you see the global outlook that you've been able to take in, and how will this influence how you move forward with youth leadership and development from your perspective?
Well, I was with him yesterday, about an hour plus in my office, and we talked about this. And I was suggesting to him that, you see, I don't want to talk about the country, but look into Malaysia. We have two sets of population, the present set and the future set. Do you want to spend money, time, energy, repairing whatever that you have today? Or you want to spend some money here, some energy here, some thinking here, but at the same time, you want to also invest for the future.
That's right.
So that has to be well calculated. And I said, so as much as we want to solve the present problem, which is to me is almost impossible to get it done. If success rate is 40 to 50%, we are lucky. But in the meantime, the tomorrow generation, the future generation, this is where you should come in and invest a lot in education, in nation building, and everything else. So the package must be there. So of course we have great things in pipeline, as I said. Parliament Belia is one thing. Then the Academy Kenegaraan is another thing. At the same time, also we have the what we call PRKN 3.0. So as much as we are solving today's problem, but I keep on saying that never forget about the tomorrow. This is where. So same thing. I'm trying to explain this to the ASEAN leaders.
Right.
As much as we are spending so much time and energy on this, but in the meantime, look here. Let's invest. Let's look for the future, because tomorrow is more important than today, because yesterday was gone. Right. So that's why I'm saying that. Let's invest. Let's invest.
Who would you say then are your allies in the ASEAN parliamentary level that you can look to? Because sometimes the reformasi can be a lonely journey, you know, and Tan Sri, you've been, like you said, in it for a very long time, and now you're doing it at the ASEAN level with 680 million people. What's your thoughts then on, when I say allies, maybe not even just parliamentary, but also within the NGOs, CSOs, private sectors at a regional level?
Well, at least even at the leadership level, I've spoken to the Indonesian, I've spoken to the Singaporean, I've spoken even recently, the Prime Minister of Cambodia was here. He was young. He is young. And the interest is there. If I've spoken to the Speaker of Thailand, and they agree with me, that somehow or other we have to put our energy, our thought together of nurturing the future leaders. And I guess, of course, the NGOs are excited about it, everybody is excited about it. But then again, you cannot just leave it to the NGO. It cannot be on voluntary issues. This has to be structured, and the government has to come in and to put things in perspective. And I guess if we can do that, as long as NGO, as we have NGO moving to one direction, but the government back them up,
right?
You know. But at the end of the day, the government must have a platform and structured, what we call it, situation, because you cannot have a one-off kind of thing. No, you cannot have.
That's a very quick one. Parliamentarians, even at the regional level, are also driven by politics, local politics, right? So politics is local, but leadership is global. What would you say to them today, if you could say a message to them to say, guys, this is what we need to focus on?
Well, I guess everybody understand that, you know.
Is it?
Yeah, everybody understand that, but somehow or other.
If it was that simple, we wouldn't have the problems we face today.
Yeah, but again, you have communal issues,
right?
You have regional issues, you have global issues. You know, sometimes they are stacking each other. You know, so things are very, very volatile, sometimes very fluid. But the most important thing is that I said, as far as ASEAN is concerned, as long we hold strongly to Zofan, you know, we understand that we believe in it. That this is a zone that should have peace, freedom, and neutrality. And I guess the other superpower also should recognize it, which they do recognize. Right. You know, that's why when when the American is trying to play their role in certain parts of this region, we said it very clearly. You know, we are a trading nation. We want to be friendly with China. We want to also be friendly with the European and you, American. So don't have this misconception that we are pro-China or pro this and pro that. No, no, we are a trading nation. And ASEAN want to be that kind of position too.
It's about a civilizational good, a Madani,
exactly.
as you may say.
Yeah.
Tan Sri, last 10 seconds, if I may. So we're running out of time. It's been a great conversation. 3 to 4 years looking ahead from now, what is on your wish list?
To have as many as young leaders concerned. I want to produce young leaders. I really want. I think I have the formula. We should produce young leaders.
Right. Thank you very much, Tan Sri. And for those of you at home, thank you very much for tuning in with us. That is all the time we have here today. It's been such an enlightening conversation on the Nation ASEAN Plus with our speaker of the Dewan Rakyat, the Parliament, Tan Sri Johari Abdul. Thank you very much for your time, Tan Sri.
You're most welcome. Thank you very much.
Until
Thank you,
next
Danial.
time, we'll see you again.
Thank you.
Take care.